our online boardroom seminar, Show Me the Money, with Natasha Lie from LGAS Solutions, or LGAS, I guess is the shortened name. LG Accounting Solutions is the long version. This is the second in the series we've done with them, and we're really happy to have them on board for another collaborative boardroom seminar. I'm Donna Vincent, the owner and creator of Solo Accounts, and I'm a member and sponsor of Businesswomen Australia. My business, Solo Accounts, came about from me wanting to rediscover the bookkeeping world. So my mother is an artist and a professional photographer, and she could never understand why I couldn't paint. And every picture I took, I chopped people's heads off. And I could never understand why she couldn't add up numbers. So we're two very different creatures. So when I went into the world of bookkeeping, I kind of assumed that everybody could do bookkeeping. You know, it just seemed so very logical to me. But then I discovered that, well, mind you, it is a learned skill, but it just came very naturally to me. So I then discovered that it was very difficult for a lot of people because, that they just weren't the same way inclined that I was. So I decided that the best solution for these people, and they were mostly sole traders, so people that were working for themselves because they either didn't have the funds to pay for a bookkeeper, or they just didn't have a big enough amount of work for a bookkeeper to want to take on. So I thought what they really need is a simple solution so they can do it themselves. So I developed an app, as you do, when you're over 50 years old and a woman. So that's how Solo Accounts came around. But in the process of running the business, I discovered that people still want to be able to talk to somebody and get advice on what they're doing. And the questions to me always seem quite simple and logical, but that's because that's the way my brain's wired. And for other people, they really struggle with it. And there's this real fear attached to it. So part of what Solo Accounts does is not only provides a simple solution, but where we just want to talk to people and support them and help them get it up and running. So we're not just an app or an accounting product, we're people and we're there to help. So that's where Solo Accounts fits into things. My role with BWA is also doing their accounts and on the advisory board. So really happy to be working with them. Now let me just get this. Oh, okay, here we go. Oh, that's me. So before we start our seminar, we like to do an acknowledgement of country. So we acknowledge that we are gathered on Australian land where First Nations people lived, worked, danced, cared for and celebrated for over 60,000 years. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and we acknowledge the support of our Indigenous sisters in business. BWA's vision is one where everybody is valued and can contribute to the greater good, demonstrating a new way of being the #1 national collaborative in the community in Australia, focusing on the success of all women in business. And we do this by our shared vision of helping each other achieve goals and dreams and to build a network of influence and creating opportunities to improve the visibility of women in Australia. So we're a very mixed collective. We've got business owners, entrepreneurs, directors, managers, lots of professionals, consultants, and even C-suite women on boards. We have a very big collection of leaders in their industries, and we are now developing emerging leaders because of what is shared within the collaborative. Our 5 areas of development are leadership, which is a #1 for us really, business improvement, personal growth, influence and profile, and connecting people. Our shared values what we call Together We Can Achieve More. Inclusion and diversity, this is really important to us, because everybody's got a story and everybody's got a background. So, you know, we don't judge people. We bring them in and we find out their story and hopefully can work with them. Courage and honesty, collaboration, open-mindedness, conscious care, particularly at the moment because of everything that's going on with COVID-19, and positive energy optimism, which is really another important one at the moment. The benefits of being a part of our community, connections and friendships, and this has been great in the online world because we are connecting with people on the East Coast that we never normally would get to know on a personal basis, and it's just showing that people really value that connection and friendship. We have boardroom banters and round tables. Once again, at the moment they're online, but a really valuable thing we do to get people connected. We have discounted events for our members. At the moment, everything that's online is free. You have a directory on our BWA website, which members like to refer to one another. So this is just a nice central place where we know where everybody's at and how to connect with them. We sometimes have social events and they're always really popular. One of our main aims is to try and collaborate and do co-creation things with our members, and they're always very successful. We do find that we get referrals because of just the kind of people we are, and we're big into sharing knowledge. You can connect on all social media. We have LinkedIn groups, so we have a private one and we have a company page. The company page has about 2,500 members, so it's a great place for you to go and just offer what's going on in your business, or just to communicate with people, ask an opinion. We are on Facebook. We also have a public page and a members only page, which is we all talk on that, which is great. Twitter and Instagram as well. Our hashtags that are mostly used are BWA events and BWA leaders. BWA wouldn't be able to operate if it wasn't for sponsors and partners. One of our main sponsors is Catco Enterprises. Kathy she takes on the role of our social media and our website. And at the moment, she's just about finished redeveloping or rejigging our website because it was pretty old and not doing what it's supposed to do. Solo Accounts My Business is also a major sponsor of Businesswomen Australia. And with us today, of course, LG Accounting Solutions doing their presentation. And the others you can see on the screen. If you're not a member, we'd love you to join, and you possibly have the opportunity to sponsor an event, present a topic, maybe host a gathering if you're somewhere a bit different to the norm, or facilitate a workshop. But talk to Lynn, she's the best person to talk to about that, but happy to work with you. What's coming up? So on Fridays, we're having, or every Friday for the foreseeable future, Lynn invites everybody into her home for a drink on Friday nights. Lynn, are you back to having a pajama party again, or is that just
no, it's not
leftovers from before?
I just saw that, but I'm very happy.
Yeah, so did I.
Very happy if people want to come in their pajamas. We had a couple East Coast that were in their jammies last Friday.
Yeah. So I did change the date, but I didn't read on to the pajama party part. Look, that's a really nice session. You can bring a glass of wine or a cup of tea or whatever you like. It's about letting your hair down at the end of the week. It's social, but it also gets into some nice, interesting conversations about what's going on in people's lives at the moment, because it is different to the norm. So yeah, it's nice and relaxed. So join in with that one. Thursday morning, we're having the first of an early bird session with Tracy Ward, talking about the boundaries for success. I think this is 6:30
It's
on the
6:30
West
Perth
Coast,
time.
but yeah,
Yes.
8:30 on the East Coast.
I know.
So
My husband's asking me why I'm doing this. Is Tracy's great idea because it's 8:30 her time, of course.
but you know, we're not having to travel too far, so you can get up and watch that one in your pajamas. Our normal roundtable, hosted by Becky, is being done online. This is Chatham House Rules. We don't record this one because it's about coming with anything you want to share from your business, and sometimes people just want some advice. So we keep that one in-house. That's not a recorded session. Then our HR boardroom with Sonia, we had one of these last month, which was fantastic. She's an HR expert and deals mainly with boards, but very interesting information. And then we go to the lovely Vida with another one of her courageous conversations. Do we record these ones, Lynn? Or is that
no,
one?
They're not recorded either.
Not recorded either.
Chatham House Rules. It's a lot of it's a D&M really, a deep and meaningful, and a really great opportunity to hold space for women in a very safe circle. And we limit the numbers for the courageous conversations as well. So we'd love to see people join us for quick fixes and need for speed.
And if you're not a member, we would love to have you as one. The management or the people that manage BWA don't get paid, so we rely, but we do pay the people, I guess you call them junior workers, the people that do all of the marketing, legwork, the hard stuff that takes up a lot of time. So, you know, we do have expenses that we have to pay. So our membership fees go towards that. And we'd love to offer it for free, but, you know, we have business costs as well. So please join us if you want to be a part of our collective. Now it is my pleasure to hand over to Natasha. She's a lovely, lovely lady, and she's full of really helpful, useful information. If you've got some questions, please put them in the chat box. We'll keep an eye on it and try and stop Natasha. Well, I'll stop Natasha from talking and she can answer your questions. And if we have a little time at the end, we'll throw the floor open with any other questions. So it's my pleasure to hand over to you, Natasha.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Donna. And thank you to BWA for having us back again. Sorry, I have just pressed the wrong button to share my screen. Helps me actually hit the share screen button. Ooh, great. Is that now up on everyone's screen?
Yep, you're right.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for our second BWA presentation. So we're really excited to be joining everyone today for our Show Me the Money presentation, focusing on raising finance and capital for businesses. So this presentation has probably changed a little bit since we first pitched this idea with Lynn a few months ago, because a few months ago we didn't have coronavirus impacting us. So at the end of this presentation, we have tacked on just a bit of general information in relation to the COVID stimulus packages that the government has offered. Although it doesn't really relate to, well, it does relate to Show Me the Money in the fact that the government's effectively giving us money. So we decided that we would include that in this presentation. So feel free at the end to ask us any questions in relation to the COVID stimulus packages. We have been working extremely hard on these for our clients over the last couple of weeks since they've been introduced. So firstly, a little bit about LG Accounting Solutions. So we are an accounting firm based in Innaloo that specialise in supporting small and medium businesses, providing tax, business advice and accountability to our clients. And our mantra here is to support, inspire and solve. And that's something we've been working on with our marketing team to come up with a mantra that really suits what we do for our clients. So we actually went through the process of interviewing about 15 of our top clients to work out what they would actually say about us in a bit of a question and answer. So we developed a questionnaire that we then called them and just blindly asked them questions about what they say about us. And this was really the theme that came up when we were asking them the questions, that we support them through thick and thin in their businesses, that we inspire them to do better and to want to grow their business, and we help solve their problems. So it was really exciting for us to work on our mantra. So we're really excited to be rolling that out to our clients and to just to generally the market. And lastly, we've been operating for over 20 years, and we had an awesome 20th anniversary party planned, which of course, because of the lovely COVID virus, we are no longer having our 20th anniversary party in our 20th year. So we'll see what evolves over that one. So as Donna said, I'm Natasha Lie. I am a principal at LG Accounting Solutions, and I've held that role for over 8 years. I'm a chartered accountant, and I am also an SMSF, a self-managed super fund accredited advisor. So I specialise in super funds and how super funds work. But my main passion of being an accountant is working with clients to solve their problems and basically helping clients grow and achieve what they want to achieve in their business. And I also have a big focus on helping our team also achieve that goal. So I am predominantly inward focused, I guess you can say. I do a lot of work with our team and helping them to grow and inspire our clients. And this year has been my year of growth, where I've started to focus outwards and to test my boundaries and give presentations to BWA. So this is my second presentation. So hopefully I can do it justice. So moving right along, so a lot of businesses have raised finance as they've been going along as the need arises. And the idea of raising finance is when you need money to put in your business that's not from the sale of your product or services. And raising finance is one of the scariest things and scariest times a business faces when they're running out of money for whatever reason, whether it's because they're a startup or because they're wanting to grow or because of COVID. So raising finance can be a really scary time, but it also can be a time of great opportunity. So as I've got on the slide there, it is one of the greatest challenges facing business owners, and choosing the right fit and right source of funding for your business. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. So we have a little quote here, and I'm just going to read it for you. It is almost always harder to raise capital than you thought it would be, and it almost always takes longer, so plan for that. And that is really true in today's economy, with the banks taking a long time to process loan applications. They're dragging their feet. We've been working with one of our clients who has great financials, great equity, great cash flow, and it's taken us 8 weeks and we still haven't got the loan through. And it's purely just because the banks are so busy prioritising the COVID actions, which is completely understandable, but it's very hard when you're trying to raise money for your business. So one of the key takeouts I would like to give you today is to really plan ahead for when you need capital, and to make sure that you have a bit of buffer time in there, because it always takes longer than what we think. So there are 2 key types of raising finance, and one of these you've probably heard of before, and one of them isn't as well known to the market. So the one that is more well known to clients and to everybody is debt capital, or the raising of loans. And most people already have loans. They have a mortgage, they have car finance, you already have some sort of debt capital, or what we call loans. So that is a pretty common way of raising money for your business. And we're going to go through some points about going and getting a bank loan. But the other point that we're going to go through is to raise funds through equity capital by the use of getting investors in your business. And this is a point that a lot of business owners don't consider when they're needing funds for their business. The other point that we raise when it comes back to getting finance, whether it is through equity or through finance loan, is that it all comes back to cash flow. Your business needs to have cash flow to be able to repay your loan. it really is the most critical point of this. You need to be able to have cash flow. If you're going for a type of equity finance, equity loan, then it may not need to be repaid, so that may be a good option for you. But if you're going through a normal, typical funding option of having a finance loan, then cash flow is king. So when do you raise capital? So the most obvious part of when you need capital is when you're starting up a business. That is really when you have the business hasn't sold anything and you need to have some money for your business. It's when you do up your cash flow and you do your budget up and you realize that you have a shortfall in cash for what you need to achieve. Another time when you possibly need finance is when you're looking to grow. And obviously there is more times than when you need to raise finance than these 3 points that we've listed here. But these are the three areas that we see quite commonly with our clients when we're looking at raising capital. So we're firstly going to go through equity capital because this is one that isn't as common as the debt finance. So we're going to run through this one first. So firstly, what is equity capital? Equity capital is raising capital through selling equity in your business, and it typically requires investors. So this is where you give, not necessarily give away, but you sell a portion of your business to an investor for a sum of money or for a service or a fee that they're going to provide to you. So there's multiple reasons as to why you will use this one that we'll go through shortly. So when do we use equity capital? It is quite often used during a startup because the business generally doesn't have the financial backings that a bank would look at when they're raising finance. So this is where you would have potentially a really key idea or a really a good concept, and when you need funding for your business. So it is very common for startups to give away a percentage of their business right at the get-go to get funding into their coffers. And it is also looked at when businesses are looking to grow and to expand their business. So they're the two main times when a business will use equity finance. So one of the key things of going down the equity finance track is making sure that you have the right investor investing in your business, because you don't just want to know about them, you want to know who do you want to have owning part of your business. So you're going to be giving away. I use giving away very loosely when I'm saying this. You're getting something in return when you're giving it away. But when you are essentially selling, giving away, however you want to say it, part of your business, you want to make sure that you are really aligned with that person that's investing in your business. So you need to make sure that you spend enough time researching who your investor is going to be. So why would an investor invest in your business, and what are they looking for when they're looking at investing in a business? So firstly, they potentially are looking at market opportunity. So they're looking at the market that your business is in and whether that's going to be attractive of where they want to invest their money. They're looking at the projected revenue and profit of your business and what sort of return on investment they'll be getting for their business. How much money are they going to get back from their investment? They're looking at the potential capital growth, so the increase in business value of your business. They'd be looking at the business risks. And sometimes, and this is quite often the case with small businesses, the investors are looking to have an input into the operation of your business, which means depending on how the contract's written, they may want to have a say into the day-to-day operations of your business. And that is why having the right investor in your business is critical. Because if you bring someone into your business and you butt heads because you don't agree with the way they want to run the business, then you're just buying yourself more problems. So it's really important to get a feel for what the investor is looking for as well as what you're going to be giving them. So when you are having finance, whether it's both equity or through the banks, it is really important to have a business plan. And this is a documented business plan. not just one that is up in your head that you think, oh yeah, that's really great. I know I have a business plan, and then you go, can we see it? And it's all in your head. We see this time and time again when we speak to clients about business plans. So it is really important that your business plan is documented, because this forms the blueprint for your business. It is not your Bible of your business, but it is basically your plan. It lays out your goals, your targets, your incentives, what you're trying to achieve in the market. It has your budget in there, and that budget needs to be on a month-by-month basis for a future period. And that is really, really important. And the more effort and the more professionally presented your business plan is, it shows an investor or a bank how serious you are about your business. And it is a really key document that business owners quite often forget about. So it's really important that you get that in place. So if you're going to be looking at the equity finance part of a business and selling part of your business to get some funds in, the key question that we get asked is how much to sell. So the first question is to make sure that you have done your budget up and answer, well, how much cash do I actually need? Because we have this conversation with clients where they say, I need 500,000. But once we've done the numbers and looked at their budget and their projection, they may need half that or a quarter of that. And so if they've gone for their full amount of what they thought they need, they may be selling more of their business than what they actually need to. So it's really important to work out your needs of funding so that you can actually correctly sell the business that you are selling. So what we want to make sure is that you don't give away control of your business. So if you sell more than 50% of your business, you are effectively possibly giving away control of your business. So that is another key number to make sure that when you're selling shares that you don't, or units, or you're part of your business, that you don't give away control. And that is something that we see also time and time again. So there are different types of equity capital arrangements, so equity finance, and it depends on the business structure that you're trading in. So if you're trading as a sole trader, unfortunately, equity finance isn't really an option. This is more when you have a legal structure around your business. So sole traders aren't eligible for equity capital funding, but companies, partnerships, unit trusts, those entities are eligible for equity finance. And so depending on the structure of your business, depends on how the equity capital financing arrangement would look. So if you have a company, you would be selling shares and equity in your company to get funding. If you are trading through a unit trust, you'd be selling units to the investor to get finance into your business. So another critical thing that fits into having an equity arrangement with an investor is to make sure everything is legally documented. And we can't stress this enough. It is so important to have a properly documented legal agreement with your potential investor. It basically lays out the rules for the investment. It is completely critical. This we recommend to get drawn up by a lawyer, because they know how to put all the legal jargon in there for if things go bad. And as part of this legal document, you need to basically work out how you're going to get divorced before you even get married. So that is, you need to work out if the crap hits the fan, how are you actually going to exit this arrangement in a fair and reasonable manner? And the best time to have this conversation is before you've actually even gone into business together. It's something that we've seen go completely pear-shaped when this hasn't been considered when the relationship is still good. Because if you can't agree on these sort of things while the relationship is still good, you'd be wanting to question, can you actually do business with this person on an ongoing basis? Another key point to have when you're doing equity finance is the potential right to buy back the shares, units, or the equity in your business. And this is so that if things go really, really well and you decide that you don't need that investor anymore, you actually have the option to buy the right to buy your business back so that you can have control of it again. and full ownership. It's something that you may not exercise, but it's a good thing to consider in your planning for an equity investor. Cool. Do we want to do questions here, Donna, or do we want to keep moving through?
There's no questions in the chat box, so keep going.
Beautiful. Cool. So we're going to move on to debt capital, or raising finance in a more traditional manner. So this is really when you're looking at taking out a loan. So it's borrowing money. And a lot of people have already done this in their personal lives, and this is looking at it from a business perspective. So one of the key points to look at when you're looking at raising finance through debt is, who do you borrow from? So the most common place where people borrow money from is a bank. Everyone sees the adverts. They're all getting hammered at the moment with the COVID activity that's happening. But what people don't realise is that you can take loans from second and third tier lenders. The risk when you go down to second and third tier lenders is that the interest rates are higher and the terms of the loan aren't necessarily as favourable for the borrower. For the borrower. So that is something to be mindful of, but it is still an option depending on how long you need the finance for, what you need the finance for. So it still is an option. The other option that can get a little bit murky, but if it's done properly and documented, is borrowing money from friends and family. It is generally, we try and get our clients to stay clear from this, but it is still an option that can be considered depending on the size, the loan term, and everything. The key point I want to make, if you are borrowing money from friends and family, is please put that loan on commercial footing, because you don't want to murky the waters with your friends and family. So yeah, that's just a little tip. We've seen some of these agreements work really, really well, and others, yeah, not so good. So the common traps that we see when people look at debt finance is, the further down the chain you get in the tier of lenders, the higher the interest rate. So I mentioned that previously. So the less security you are offering up for your loan, generally the higher the interest rate. And that's a key point. So if you're going to a bank, a normal banking institution, you're looking at generally quite a low interest rate, but you've got to give them a lot of security. If you're looking at someone more like a third or fourth tier lender, they won't necessarily want a lot of security, but they will be charging you a high interest rate premium for it. And they still will want some sort of security. With all loans, it's really important to review the terms and conditions and what caveats the lender is putting on this loan. So with the Royal Commission that we've had into the banking industry, they have had I would nearly say a complete 180 of what they assess when they look at giving out loans these days. They basically want to know how much you spend on your food, whereas back a few years ago, they just put an arbitrary number on how much you spent in your household budget. Whereas now they actually take that into consideration when they're looking at loans. So a lot of banks, depending on what security you are putting up, will put caveats on the loan to protect their investment, their loan that they're giving you. And another common trap that we see is clients overextending themselves. So we need to make sure that businesses, when they take out loans, can actually afford to pay them off. And that is by having a really good budget, a really good business plan, and a really good business model to make sure that you can actually afford the loan that you're looking at getting. So in our current lending climate, you'll know that interest rates are really, really low. I think they're the lowest they've been in a very long time. The issue that we've got at the moment is that it's very hard to get funding without a proven track record, especially because of COVID. Banks are getting really tough on the loans that they're giving out. So we have a client that's currently going through finance. They are a really strong business. They have great financials, and we're being made to jump through hoops to prove that we can actually afford this loan. So it is taking a long time to get loans through, and we're having to jump through a lot more hoops that, given 6 to 12 months ago, we didn't actually have to do. So with the COVID-19 virus that's out there, the landscape has changed totally in relation to business loans. So banks are currently offering unsecured loans to the value of $250,000 for businesses that were not disrupted before COVID-19. So for businesses that were in financial distress pre-COVID, they're not eligible for these unsecured business loans. The catch is with these business loans that are unsecured, they sound really great. They're actually only a 36-month loan. So they're only for 36 months, which isn't that long. Of that 36 months, 6 months is completely interest-free, which is great. But then you've got 30 months only to repay this loan. So it sounds great in theory, but it can be a killer for a lot of businesses. So before our clients are taking this financing option, we're just getting them to really do the numbers to make sure they can actually really afford these loans. But what we recommend for all our clients about this COVID-19 relief is to talk to your banks and see what they can do for you and offer you relief from regular repayments of your existing debts. So that's one of the key things we've been working with our clients, is to make sure that they are getting some relief from their regular repayments from the bank. And a lot of the banks have been very accommodating, if not just taking a long time to get back to them. So what does a bank look for when they're looking to give out a loan? So they're looking at the business's ability to repay the debt. So will the debt be able to be repaid? They're looking for strong loan security. So they're looking for equity to support the loan. They're looking for the business to have really good record keeping, and they're looking for a cash flow projection model. The other thing which I don't have on the list that they're also looking for is a good story, a good business plan, and a really good reason as to why you need funding, because they're not just giving out free money like they were a few years ago. So the other question we get asked quite regularly is, how much do you borrow? And it really comes back to what you actually need the money for, and having done your budget to work out the costings and making sure that you are really sure of the amount you need. It's really critical to make sure you have a budget. I know I keep banging on about a budget and it's not everyone's favorite topic, but it is really important for your business to have a budget, especially when you're going to borrow money. It's one of the key documents that the banks ask for these days is, where's your budget? Where's your projections? If you're looking at buying a new business to add into yours, they're like, cool, we want that in the budget too now. What does that look like? So you need to know how much you need to borrow. You need to have, in a way, a bit of a contingency plan. What happens if your sales don't quite get where you think they're going to get? What's your contingency plan for repayment? What's your contingency plan to get new sales, to get more business, to make sure you can actually repay this debt? And lastly, can you actually repay it? So if you do the numbers and it doesn't add up, you have to work out whether you actually really need this money, if it's actually a good idea. So the other question we get asked quite regularly is when to borrow the money. So when do you need finance to meet your cash flow model? Are you looking to grow? Do you need capital? The question of when you need the money is not the day before you run out. It is making sure that you have a plan of, all right, I actually need money in 6 months' time when I'm looking to buy this new piece of machinery or new asset that's going to help me do something in my business. It is in X amount of time when I need to bring on a new resource that's going to bring me in this much revenue. It's having that really clear plan of what you're going to do with the money and when that is actually going to happen. And then working backwards from that point to make sure you have enough time to get the loan in place. If you're starting a business and you don't want to sell any part of it, you are really going to have to look at getting a loan of some description and making sure that you have enough security to be able to support that loan. And for businesses, that can be really difficult if there isn't a strong balance sheet of the business. And sometimes business owners need to put up their personal assets to support a business loan. It's not ideal, but in the real world, it does happen. So it's just something to be mindful of. The other thing that we talk about with our clients is the risk versus reward. And this is ensuring that your capital raising is balanced and not too high risk for the potential reward. Is that old thing of dangling the carrot out ahead and how long's that piece of string? So making sure that you are not taking too much risk for the reward and making sure that it's balanced. And that is something that's really, really something that each business needs to weigh up why they're needing the capital, when they're going to need it. And also everyone has a different risk, comfort level with risk. I know personally I am quite risk averse, but my business partner, he is nearly the total opposite of me. So when we're working together to work out our financing arrangements, we kind of meet in the middle in a happy medium ground, because I'm quite conservative and my business partner Lou, he is very, I wouldn't say extreme, but he's a lot more adventurous than I am in the financing department. So we work together to get up a happy medium, that we're both happy with the risk versus reward of our decisions. Cool. Any questions on the debt finance side of things in the chat box before we move on to the economic stimulus? No? Cool. All right. So the economic stimuluses have taken I
did have a question.
Yes, we do have a question.
No problems.
And you can just say it.
Yeah, go for it.
You mentioned that you may use your own capital. So I'm just wondering, how is that generally less or more risky to use that, your savings, rather than equity or debt capital?
It is risky. It depends on each individual business. So you need to assess the merits of what you're doing with the money. So, and there's ways of putting your personal money into a business and getting it a little bit protected. So making sure that it's well documented, that there's a loan agreement in place, and that there's caveats and potential PPSR registration. Sorry, I'm talking technical lingo, but there's some measures that you can put in place to protect your capital you're putting into the business. So it is risky to put personal money into the business, but it's weighing up that risk versus reward.
Okay, thank you.
No problems.
And can I just make a comment that having that budget in place can also be a positive thing. You know, it can also show that you've got more ability to pay that big loan. So it's not always a negative thing. Not always a negative thing to do.
That is a good point.
Sometimes it's a really positive thing to do. And my other comment is sometimes when money's hard to get, it makes you think twice about whether you need to go to that source, and sometimes you can be a little bit more resourceful and it costs you less. So, you know, sometimes things that seem being negatives can sometimes be positive.
That's a really good point, Donna. Yes, there is advantages and disadvantages of doing each type of funding. And when we work with our clients to work out what type of funding they need, we do look at all options, including putting personal money into the businesses. And if we're putting personal money into the businesses, trying to get it as protected as possible. So yeah, there is definitely lots of options, and it's very hard because each business that we look at, all the circumstances are very different. Cool. So we'll just quickly run through the economic stimulus packages. I know these have been absolutely hammered in the media, so I'm going to go through them quite quickly, but I'm really happy to go through them in a lot more detail if need be. So moving on. So one of the first packages that was released was the loans packages. So in the first economic stimulus, the government contributed $12 billion towards loans for businesses. And our advice there is to talk to your bank manager, but this is really the $250,000 unsecured loans that the government has offered that we talked about previously. So that is the main one with the loans, and to have the potential the hold on your repayments on your loan. So that's the loans program that has been offered. The main one that's in the media at the moment is the Jobkeeper Package. So if your business has employees or has an eligible business participant. Sorry for the technical lingo, but that's what the tax office is calling business owners in this case. If your revenue has dropped below 30% to a comparable period last year, then you can potentially collect $1,500 per week or $3,000 per fortnight per staff member per week. And you can also potentially get that for eligible business owners, depending on your business structure, which means you could get almost $20,000 per staff member or per business owner if your business has been affected by COVID and had a 30% drop in turnover. So this one is really a hot topic at the moment in our office, because the enrolment process to get Jobkeeper is now available through the portal, same as now identifying and actually allocating your, identifying and managing your eligible employees through the portal. So this one is a key topic because the funds are really just about to start flowing from Jobkeeper out to businesses. The one that was very well covered but then sort of has died off is the instant asset write-off threshold has increased to $150,000 up until the 30th of June this year. The key one to this is you actually need the money to be able to pay for the asset. So whether that is through getting finance or anything, but it is an opportunity for businesses that need to purchase big chunky assets up to the value of $150,000 can get an instant asset write-off and help with decreasing the amount of tax they're going to pay at the end of the year. The one that has just started to flow out to business owners is what they're calling the cash flow boost. So this is for businesses who employ people, may be eligible for up to $100,000 cash flow boost. And this is based off the pay-as-you-go withholding that is in the BASs that have been lodged. And this has started to flow out to business owners with the lodge of the March BAS. And it's basically you lodge your March BAS, and if you've got pay-as-you-go withholding in there, you don't need to do anything extra. The money just comes out from the tax office. And this has been a really great one that's been flowing out of late. The one that is quite helpful to people that have a bigger payroll is the Payroll Tax Relief. And this is the main point to make here is that if the payroll tax threshold has now been increased to $1 million, which is fabulous. So if your payroll is less than $1 million, is more than $1 million, you still have to pay payroll tax. But if it's less, you now don't. They've also offered the state government has offered a payroll tax freeze. So we're not paying payroll tax for April, May and June, which is helping a lot of businesses that do have quite a high wage bill. The other part that's going to be automatic is the state government is offering a $17,500 grant to businesses that have a payroll between $1 and $4 million. And nothing needs to be done for this except for making sure that you've lodged your payroll tax returns. It's just going to flow out automatically from the Office of State Revenue. Cool. That is my very quick view of the economic stimuluses. I've kind of flown through them. But if there is any questions or would like me to go through some of the stimuluses or anything else in more detail, I am more than happy to, because I just kind of flew through those ones.
Thanks, Natasha. That was great. Really, really helpful information explained to us in nice, simple terms, which we all love. Lynn has a question.
Oh, no.
No. Lynn, do you want me to read it out or do you want to ask yourself?
Either way, I'm happy. It's really around that the instant write-off of capital purchases.
Yep.
You just put it in as an expense, do you?
Yeah, so basically, instead of going through the balance sheet and being depreciated over the life of the asset, it is going to be expensed through the P&L, which basically means that your profit in the business will be decreased by the value of that capital purchase up to $150,000.
That's excellent, because that might make me able to therefore get the Jobkeeper for what was the term? The employees, not the employee.
The business eligible participant.
Yeah, because I've got my office, all my office cabinetry happened to fall into that that amount. So that's a rather large expense.
No, it won't count, unfortunately.
That's what I was just about to say, Donna.
Based on your income turnover, not expenses.
Yeah,
so good thinking, but
So
no, it won't help.
Oh, it won't.
It's not on your profit,
No.
it's on your
It's not going to
income
reduce my
turn.
profitability.
Correct. And on just on Jobkeeper, which is a absolute hot topic in our office at the moment, it is to make sure that you do need to actually enroll if you think you're going to be eligible for the subsidy by the end of May. That is a key thing. So if you think you're going to be eligible,
it's better to enroll just in case, is it?
Exactly, it is. It's better to enroll just in case, because once that enrolment deadline is passed at this point in time, you won't be able to get in.
And the other thing too, in terms of payroll tax, I'm so excited that they've given opportunity for that relief for businesses that are $1 million threshold now.
Yes.
Wouldn't it be nice if they leave that in place for good?
So the $1 million threshold is now in place. That's now legislative and that's ongoing.
That's legislated. Fantastic. Yep. That's really good news, because small businesses really do suffer with the payroll tax.
Oh, it is. It's an absolute killer. So that payroll tax threshold has come in. It was meant to come in 6 months' time, but they just brought it in early, which has been a blessing for a lot of businesses.
Nice. It'd be good to be able to claw that to the next $2 million threshold.
Oh, I think they probably will, but not for a little while.
Yeah, no, that was really great. Any other questions there? I'm hogging you. Anyone? Fran and Anne, have you got any questions? Margaret? No. It sounds like you've.
Can I just mention that the last session that we did with Natasha was on valuing your business, and part of what we talked about today, getting loans. And talking to people investing in your business may require an element of valuing your business. So that that wasn't in-house thing. That was a real people.
That was a real live presentation.
I remember now. So if you need advice on that, Natasha was a full bottle on that topic as well. So that's probably an important part. This is sort of a follow-on from that, I guess. So
it is. I think that's why Lynn wanted us to do this topic next, I think.
Yeah. So
right.
yes. So if you've got questions about that, Natasha's a good person to talk to about that as well.
Yeah, and I think a lot of small businesses, really the cheapest money available is generally through your own finances. Even if you have to redraw from your mortgage, really at the end of the day, there's free money sitting in our mortgages if you've got any assets and property loans that you've got some buffer to play with, as long as you can pay yourself back. But if you're willing to risk someone else's money, then the question I always have is that, well, why aren't you risking your own? And if you're at the point where you haven't got access to any of that finance, then you want to be pretty sure that your business plan is very tight and that you've got the opportunity then to be able to pay back the loans. Otherwise, you could end up in some pretty deep water.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, well, lovely to have you. Thank you very much, Natasha. Thank you, Donna, for being our fabulous BWA host. You did a gorgeous job. It was lovely for me to sit back and listen to freaking BWA. It was really good. And to the ladies who did take out time, I think going forward, if we have any more business seminars online, we will probably go back to during the business hours time, because the whole idea of this was we were going to have a glass of wine, which I always love, and some cheese, and hang out at the gorgeous offices of LG Accounting Solutions. They've got the coolest offices there in Innaloo, and it's a really lovely place to be amongst them and their team. So thanks so much, everybody, for being here, and we hope to see you online. If you're thinking about joining and you're not sure if this is the right time, still jump on. Everything's for free for anyone thinking about being a member. And then we'll love to get to know more about you and what's going on with your business so we can help you be successful too.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Lynn and Donna.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.